Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Wednesday. It's September 25th. It is 2024. We have a 9-game MLB slate to talk about here on today's podcast. Joined today by the Almanac himself, Dean78904. Dean, what's happening, my friend?
What's going on? We watching a little bit of baseball, sweating some bets. I had a Yankee stack, so my night was over pretty quickly. Of course, the people know we record Wednesday's podcast on a Tuesday night. They figured it out. We're at month number 6, but trying to get bailed out by some bets, Stevie. We're hanging on with the under for Seattle-Houston. Barely by a thread. And my favorite bets today did hit. Betting lefties. You know, when a lefty faces Minnesota, betting unders on like hits and strikeouts on guys like Margot and Farmer that you know are going to come out. That worked out beautifully. So that's going to bail me out, I think, for the night. So, yeah, we would like to get a win for Minnesota, too, but that probably does not seem to be in the cards. But how about yourself? How are things?
Yeah, the last time I checked, my DFS team was awful. So, hey, you know, that happens. And like you said, sweating out a couple bets here down the stretch. Like I need that Seattle under. Doesn't look like I'm going to hit my 3-pick parlay from Tuesday. So, yeah, I mean, overall, probably going to be a losing night for me. The Seattle under would help that losing night, but yeah, I mean, we'll see how it kind of plays out. I know I'm going to have a losing night in DFS. My team was bad. Listen, you have those days, right? You just have those days where your team just stinks, and that was me today. I'm actually cashing right now. I don't know how.
I was just going to say, to be fair, everybody's team stinks, basically. There's no runs.
Well,
they're coming from
I did play Jonathan Cannon at 4% owned, and he scored 25 fantasy points. He was my hot take in the expert survey today. I said he was going to pitch. Oh, I forget exactly what I said. Hold on. Allows 4 hits on 1 earned run and strikes out 7. He allowed 3 hits, no earned runs, and struck out 7. So I think my hot take was spot on with Jonathan Cannon today.
It was better than mine. My hot take was the Astros clinched the division tonight, winning 1-0. On the back of a Kyle Tucker homer. Now, Kyle Tucker did homer, but it's 4-3 Houston, which would be good enough. They got out of it, so 2 more innings to avoid, or I guess bottom of the 8th, top of the 9th. Hopefully, Houston closes this out 4-3, and we salvage with the under there for Houston and Seattle.
All right, let's get into Wednesday's slate. We're hanging out here on Tuesday night. What's up, chat? Hope everyone is having a great Tuesday. We see you guys over there hanging out in chat. We appreciate you all. And we got 9 games here for Thursday. Last week of baseball. It's Wednesday. I said Thursday. Wednesday slate. Last week of baseball. I mean, a lot of games that matter. Definitely focusing more on those games than other games. And I mean, it goes without saying, but hey, we should say it. We started with Baltimore at New York, 8 total in this game. Yankees are 138 favorite. We got Zach Eflin going up against Nestor Cortez. Any interest here in Zach Eflin?
No, I don't think so. Despite the fact the Yankees got shut down on Tuesday, still too much power. Yeah, Zach Eflin has great control. I'll give him that. 2.9% walks, actually the lowest walks on this slate. But no, I'm not. I do not see any reason to pick on New York tonight.
Yeah, I don't think this is a spot I want to play Eflin. You know, Baltimore is in a position where if he's pitching well, they'll probably let him keep going. But I still think that this is a really tough spot. You know, the Yankees lineup is not a lineup you typically want to play pitchers against. So I think this is a spot. I'll leave Eflin on the shelf. He's going to throw a lot of strikes. He's going to try to generate some ground balls and get out of innings, but I think this is a really tough spot for him in New York facing the Yankees. Any interest here in Cortez on the other side of this game?
I guess a little bit, just because of his K upside. Well, how many lefties are we going to get from the Baltimore side? I guess that's the other question. Probably not many, right? No, I'm going to flip-flop on you. I don't think I want Cortez. Let's see. How many? We might get Kowser. We might get Gunnar. Cortez distinctly better versus lefties than he is versus righties, almost 28% as far as the Ks. And the ISO is 77, which is just a spectacular number, as is the WOBA at 238. But, I don't think so. This is probably his last start before the playoffs. Both these teams, I guess not mathematically in just yet, but I see Baltimore, according to FanGraphs, is 99.9% in the playoffs. So they're in the playoffs. And the Yankees have already, they've already locked up their spot as far as being in the playoffs as well. I don't think so. I don't think so is the short answer for Cortez, unless we somehow get a bunch of lefties, which are probably not.
Well, they sent Eloy down on Tuesday to AAA. Like, he had to agree to it, but he got sent down. He has been awful. Be really interesting to see if like he even comes back, or if they figure out a way to like buy him out of his contract. He's
Are they
been
playing?
that bad.
I thought the AAA season was like over. Is it not over? Am I making that up?
I'm pretty sure it's over, but like they still can option like it's basically to open up a roster spot for somebody.
Okay.
I don't know what the corresponding move was, but Rivera should be in the lineup today, which is another righty, that should take one of the left-handed hitters out of the lineup. And they've been using both Rutschman and McCann against lefties at times. So if Cortez, like you said, if Cortez gets 4 or 5 lefties and they can't get all the lefties out, yeah, maybe we play some Nestor Cortez today. But I think they're going to get enough righties. And some of these lefties, like Gunnar Henderson, can hit left-handed pitching. So I think it'd be a lineup thing as far as Cortez. So kind of wait and see what the lineup looks like for him. Any thoughts here on the Baltimore bats?
I mean, Santander, right? Like, he looks spectacular. Cortez struggles versus righty power. Santander is probably the best player on the Baltimore side. I don't know if I'm going to get this far as a fully stack, but like just as an a la carte piece, just amazing. I believe he's been going out on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. He's got to be at, I haven't really, 35, 40? How many homers do you have at this point in the season? Probably close to 40. But yeah, feel pretty good about him. I don't know if I'm going to full, me, I only make like 2 or 3 lineups, especially this time of year, focusing on single entry, 3-entry max stuff. I just don't see myself really loading up in either one of these teams. So they are good offenses. We'll talk about the Yankees in a second, obviously. But yeah, they're not really jumping off the page either way, despite outside of the fact that like they're Baltimore, they have good hitters. They're the Yankees, they have good hitters. I believe the Yankees on the season, as far as their current roster, WRC plus is number 1 in all of baseball. Walk rate is number 1 in all of baseball. I believe their ISO is number 1 in all of baseball. Just absolutely shellacking righties. So of course you can always play them, but Eflin is a decent enough pitcher. I respect him enough, but will I possibly get to the Yankees? Sure. Like always. So where are you at as far as New York?
As far as Baltimore, trying to get ahead of yourself hosting.
Sorry.
Santander and Westberg are 2 hitters that I love against left-handed pitching. So I would be interested in a 3-man, with those 2 being the staple pieces of a 3-man against Cortez. Like, he gives up a lot of power and fly balls to righties, a lot of hard contact to righties. So I think taking 2 of those like power righties with Westberg and Santander, and then finding a third piece, depending on like who's potentially in the lineup cheap wise. And then on the Yankees side,
Mayo maybe.
Yeah, maybe Mayo.
Who stunk so far, but he's going to be like, I'm assuming he's like the minimum.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see like who cracks the lineup. But as far as the Yankees, Eflin throws a lot of strikes. He's not a guy that like typically gets blown up. He's allowed at 3 or fewer earned runs in 10 straight. I probably don't stack the Yankees. You could play Soto, Judge, Wells, Stanton, Jazz anytime you want, but I probably don't get to a Yankees stack today.
That's pretty much where I'm at. I don't want to discourage it. Like I said, they were the best team in baseball against righties, their current iteration. So sure, you can always play them, but this isn't the best spot in the world, but they always can get there.
Moving on, we got Boston at Toronto, 8 total in this game. Toronto, a 142 favorite. Richard Fitz against Kevin Gausman in this one. Fitz recently called back up. He started a little bit. He's thrown at least 5 innings in 3 straight games. Really hasn't shown any upside whatsoever. So I think this is an easy stay away spot for a guy that has had an 11% strikeout rate through the first 3 games of his season.
Just want to say I'm proud of you for not making any jokes about his name. So good job. I don't know. I've had less mature co-hosts that couldn't help themselves with the name Richard Fitz. Maybe they would call him something else. But yeah, 11.1% strikeouts. Get out of here. I can't do it. Yeah, get out of town. I know it's a small sample, but get out of town.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's been some tough matchups. Yankees, Minnesota. Like I get those strikeout but he faced the White Sox and struck out too. And looking at his advanced stats in that game, he really wasn't missing bats. He's done a great job. I will say limiting barrels and generating ground balls, and we'll talk about that when we get to the bats for Toronto. But I don't want to play him. I don't think he has any upside whatsoever. Any interest here in Gausman against the Red Sox?
A little bit. By the way, the chat is telling us, thank you, chat, that Mayo was sent down. So I missed that. And again, the whole sent down thing is kind of weird to me, but I guess it's opening up roster spots, I suppose. I guess they don't have they don't have the 40 man like they can do back in the day, the last month of the season, just load up a bunch of players. But yeah, good note there from the chat. Yeah, Gausman, I assume this will be his last start of the season, right? It's been an up and down year, but this Boston team, I think this Boston team is sputtering as well. Obviously, no Devers. O'Neill wasn't in the lineup on Tuesday. I don't know if that was a back-related issue. It could be, like his back's kind of been coming and going, and the season's over, so maybe they don't push him. I think we're going to see a bad Boston lineup. Is kind of what I'm getting at. So I am interested in Gausman as much as it's been painful at times this year. I guess it's because of his name. He's kind of felt like he's had a disappointing season, but it's not been as terrible. 3.91 ERA, a little bit lucky actually. If you look at the Sierra, the strikeouts at 21.8%. Swinging strike suggests maybe a little bit lucky there, but I just think this Boston team is pretty bad now, and he can take advantage of it. So he's in play.
You got to back up. Their season is not over by any means. They came back and beat Toronto in the top of the 10th inning. They're only 3 games back of the Royals right now. So hold your horses, Dean. Back up off my Red Sox. We got to win out, and we need to get lucky.
Okay,
don't get me wrong.
0.4%. This is the Jim Carrey, so you're telling me there's a chance?
No, I mean, I just don't think they're going to roll out a bad lineup on purpose is what I was getting at. Like, I don't think it's time to, get guys at bats because your season's over. I think that O'Neill, like you said, potentially a back. But, I mean, I don't think they want to put him on the IL until, their season's officially over. So,
okay.
I just wanted to pump the brakes. They're only 3 games back of the Royals. They're not out of it yet. They still have a chance. So
the Royals, the Royals might not make it. You said 3 games behind Kansas City.
Well, Kansas City snuck it out in the 10th inning tonight. That was huge for them. So
Minnesota lost too. So
Minnesota lost to Miami. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Detroit finishes with the White Sox. Don't forget about the Detroit finishing with the White Sox. So
they're basically in. They're basically.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a huge flop. That's why I said Royals. I think Detroit finishes with they finished with Tampa and they finished with Chicago White Sox. I think Detroit has the best opportunity. I forget who the Royals finished with. Who did they finish with? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't off the top of my head. Probably somebody within the division, I would assume.
The Braves. But, that's going to be a monster series for both teams. So,
and Atlanta's definitely trying as well.
Yep. So anyway, I just wanted to say, Red Sox are not out of it. Gausman has been someone that's interesting because he's done a great job limiting power, and recently his strikeouts have kind of increased a little bit. They're up, 1.7% over the last 30 days. I do think Gausman is playable today. My biggest concern with Gausman is just the pitch count. Blue Jays are out of it. Kevin Gausman threw 58 pitches last time out, and he was cruising against Texas in that game. So he was throwing a no-hitter, and they pulled him in the 5th inning. So I'm very concerned that they are not going to let him go deep in games right now. And I think that for that reason, he's a large field tournament play only, unless there's something that comes out and says, but yeah, he was cruising, and he's been dealing with this back issue. So I don't think they're going to let him go deep if they don't have to here. So yeah, I mean, I probably don't play a lot of Gausman personally. Yeah. Any interest in
I would add
Boston?
like they wouldn't pitch him if there was any issue at all, because they're on the leash for 2 more years at $23 million per Toronto, and they're going nowhere. So there's no reason to throw him out there unless he's feeling absolutely perfect, So maybe be aware of that also. I mean, we would know these things, but wouldn't be shocked. I missed that. I forgot that he was pulled with the back. Any little issue, there's no reason, because again, they don't. Last thing they want is something to flare up and somehow carry in the next season. So, yeah. But if he's starting, I assume, but that is a good note. That is a good note.
I'm interested. I don't know, if he has any things he's going for as far as incentives. I don't know if he has a bonus at 175 or 180 pitches or something. But I don't think I can do it today. But I mean, that's me.
What the Pirates did?
Oh my gosh! How would you ever sign a contract with the Pittsburgh after that? That was for anyone that doesn't know. He got released. What is it? 2 at bats away from.
That goes 4
at bats away, and it wasn't even a ton of money. Yeah.
I mean, look, it's a bad sign. It's just a bad sign for I'm a free agent and I'm coveted to some degree, and 6 teams are interested. Why would I want to go to Pittsburgh if that's the way you treat your guys? If I need a tiebreaker, if I'm desperate and nobody wants me, okay, I guess Pittsburgh will take me. Let's sign with Pittsburgh. And have you seen the guys they sign every single year? It's not a coincidence.
Boston bats here. What are your thoughts on the Boston bats?
To be determined, but I'm not really in on it. Again, I would like Devers if he's playing, but is Devers officially done for the year? Have they officially shut him down? I assume.
Yeah,
so,
he's
right?
on the IL for the year. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought I saw. I'm not really excited. I'm basically out on Boston. I know Duran's been one of the best hitters in all of baseball this year versus righties, but he can only do so much by himself, and he's not this great power guy. He's showing some good power this year for sure, but good speed. But overall, I don't really love the stack. If you want a la carte piece, Duran, but he's expensive. You got to pay for him. I don't know if O'Neill's going to be in that lineup, but overall, I'm not that interested. Most likely it's a void for me.
Yeah, I mean, I like Duran. He is just having an incredible year. Gausman typically struggles more with lefties. Probably don't get to the Red Sox today. If I was going to play the Red Sox, it'd be Duran, Cassis, Yoshida, Abreu, the lefties. Toronto bats, any interest in Toronto here?
I mean, not especially. I don't know. It's they're just I guess okay. This Fitz character you're supposed to pick on, but
are we?
Well, you're going to hit the ball against them, but
he has a 0% barrel rate.
That's what I'm
63, seeing. And he is just a strict fastball, slider, splitter guy. And he's giving up absolutely no power. Yeah. More
ground balls than fly balls. Look, I don't think he's especially good, but what are you going to do? But yeah, Toronto at best is a secondary stack for me.
I think that's what I would classify them. He's not going to go deep in this game, but the Red Sox are still playing for something. So if he gets in any kind of trouble, we'll go to the bullpen. Listen, they are I'm not being a Homer fan. I am a Red Sox fan, but they're still within the realm of possibilities. It's very small. A lot has to happen. But it's still there. So yeah.
Houston, Seattle, 4-3 final Houston. And shout out to Houston for winning the AL.
At the end. Oof.
By the way,
that was a sweat.
Maybe consider betting Seattle right now. Or I bet the under in this game right now, because I think that eliminates Seattle, and Houston just won. So maybe they have.
It does not eliminate Seattle. What planet are you living on? Yeah, they're only 2 games back of the Royals. Dean, my dude, you have to do a little bit of standings research. Come on, my friend. Seattle is very much in it still. Yes.
Hold on. They were 10.8% to make the playoffs before this loss tonight. So it's probably 2% now or something. They kind of have the run.
They have to run the table. We know the lineup for Houston's going to be awful tomorrow. We'll talk about that when we get to that game. Seven's in chat for you, so that's old school. Moving on, we got the Mets and the Braves, 7.5 total in this one. Peterson and Sale. Sale, 178 favorite in the 7.5 total. Any interest here in David Peterson?
No interest in Peterson.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, huge win for the Braves on Tuesday night. I kind of think this is a spot Atlanta's going to probably win again. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be out on Peterson here, and I have a ton of interest in Chris Sale today.
So it's an interesting conundrum. And, yeah, for sure, I love the upside of Sale. And, they have all the motivation in the world. Atlanta is doing everything they can to grab it as many W's as possible to make it to the playoffs. And good for them, even for making this run with all the injuries they've had this season. As far as strikeouts, he's got the biggest K rate on the slate, 32.1%. The walks are awesome at 5.6%. I think he has the lowest ERA in baseball amongst qualifiers. We don't talk a lot of ERA, obviously, 2.38. The only counter I'll have for you, well, if you want to go ahead and what else do you want to add? Sales, great. What else is there to say? Motivation, Ks. We love that this time of year, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, if he's pitching well, 110, 115 pitches is not out of the realm of possibilities. I mean, just 3 games ago, he went 113 pitches. So Atlanta is in a must-win mode right now. He got pulled at 93 and 96 pitches the last 2 outings, but they were absolutely dominating both of those games against the Dodgers and the Reds. So close game. Sale's pitching well. They're going to keep letting him go here. I think his ceiling is massive in this spot. I like left-handed pitching a lot more than right-handed pitching against the Mets. I think that there's a lot more upside for lefties against this lineup than righties. And yeah, I mean, going to play Sale as a top-end pitcher. Going to pay up for him today. Any interest in the Mets bats? And we should mention that Lindor is still banged up. He could potentially play, they say, but we'll see. So that obviously helps Chris Sale as well.
I just saw that note too. Was it like they say there's a chance? Yeah, they're saying he's got that back, and they're saying there's a chance he can return Wednesday. And this is my only counterpoint for Atlanta. For the Mets, is the Mets have the highest WRC plus in baseball active roster versus lefties, 127. They're actually tied with Houston. If you want to get all technical on me, they have the second highest ISO versus lefties. Again, Chris Sale's a different kind of lefty. So I think that there's some power potential. And of course, there's the ballpark bump in Atlanta too. So again, I'm probably not going to get there. I'm probably not going to be goofy with it, but I certainly can see a Vientos or a Polar Bear to get a homer off Sale. Maybe a little mini is not the worst idea, but that's me trying to be ambitious. But again, this New York team is really good against lefties, especially if they get Lindor back, which we'll see. Yet to be determined.
Yeah, we'll see as far as that is concerned, as far as Lindor. But yeah, I mean, I'm probably not playing the Mets against Sale today. And as far as the Atlanta bats against Peterson, I mean, Ozuna against lefty, Albies against lefty, back in this lineup. Soler against the lefty. Laureano's been great against lefties. Darno's good against lefties. This is a really tough spot for Peterson. You're a little concerned about pinch hit risk for Laureano, I think, more than anybody else. Albies is going to hit righty only. They're not going to take him out of games. So I don't think you're necessarily worried about him. But I think the biggest risk would be Laureano here. And yeah, I mean, overall,
maybe Taylor. Taylor can get the hook.
Taylor? Whom?
Tyron Taylor.
Oh, yeah. I mean, do you think he plays?
He's currently in the projected lineup on Fantasy Labs. Against
Atlanta?
The lefty. Oh, yeah.
I thought
I'm sorry.
we're past what? Like you're confusing me
I'm
so much right now.
About the Mets. I'm sorry.
Atlanta, Dean. We already talked about the Mets.
777. My apologies. My apologies. Yeah. I'm
Atlanta bats, Dean. Atlanta bats.
Yeah. My bad. Like you said, it is worth noting the Albies thing. He's only hitting right-handed. I do like Ozuna as well. Olsen's basically an only in stacks guy. Not going to play him as an a la carte piece. The Soler thing, I just want to note this. I'm not sure if you've been following. he gets pulled a lot for defense.
Yep, late in the games.
Because he's kind of a big lumbering guy, and he's had some injuries. He's taken a few spills. He usually comes out late in the game. You might lose it at bat, or like they would just hook him for a pinch runner if he gets on like in the 6th or the 7th, that kind of thing. Like you're getting that hit, but just noting it. Not saying you can't play him, just to put in the back pocket. But I like Atlanta a fair bit here. I think they're one of the better teams that we've talked about so far.
All right, moving on. We have the Angels and the White Sox. 8.5 total. Angels a 122 favorite. We got Suarez going up against Martin. Any interest here in Jose Suarez?
So, like, you're supposed to. Does this person throw baseballs professionally? Check. Is this person facing the Chicago White Sox? Check. But Jose Suarez is kind of terrible. So what are we supposed to do here, Stevie? On the season, again, we don't talk a lot of ERA. It's not a huge sample, 47 innings, but his ERA is above 6, and his SIERA is just above 4. So again, sort of unlucky. Walks are way too high, 11.5%. The Ks have been pretty good, 23.5% Ks. So like the strikeouts have been pretty decent. We know the White Sox are horrendous. I think they're in the process. Oh, they just took the lead. Oh, I thought they're going to set the record tonight for the most losses. So they took the lead, and they're up 3-2 in the 9th. So good for them. But, no record just yet for the White Sox are being the most inept baseball team of all time. I don't know is the official answer, but, I played the dude that threw baseballs tonight for the Angels, and he was great. And I think he's faced them twice now, and he's been good both times. And I'm not sure he's a good baseball player, but I don't know if it matters. Because, again, the White Sox are terrible. So I think he's in the pool is the short answer. He's not good, but I think there's some strikeout upside. And he could be wild. 11.5% walks is not acceptable.
Since rejoining the rotation, he's pitched 12 innings. It's a 30.4% strikeout rate with a 6% walk rate, a 0 ISO, and a 200 WOBA against Houston, and Minnesota. This is against the White Sox. Okay. This is the worst offense in baseball. I think you got to play him. We talked about Quanovich yesterday on the podcast, and I think he scored like 21.95. You give me 21 fantasy points at 6K, why not? He threw 96 pitches last time out, so they've obviously tried to stretch him out here. They have nothing to lose at this point. They're awful.
Gain, but yeah.
Yeah, they're just going to let him go out and eat up some innings here, and I think that why not? This team's bad. The projected lineup has a 70 ISO with a 250 WOBA and a 28% K rate against lefties. So, and
a 6.7% walk rate, Stevie. They like the one issue there on the other side that Suarez has shown is that they're not patient. They'll strike out and pop out and ground out really fast, those White Sox. And he's 6K, like you said.
Yeah, I really like Jonathan Cannon yesterday, going right back to the well here with Davis Martin. I think Davis Martin's a better pitcher than Jonathan Cannon. I know that he's had some rough go here. Recently, he just struggled against this team last time out. Don't care. I think that these are the two worst offenses in baseball, so I'm going to roll out some Davis Martin on the other side too. There are going to be cheap SP2s that I'm playing on DraftKings today and not even thinking twice about it.
Sure. If I need to open up salary, I'm good with it. A lean as far as Suarez versus Martin.
Suarez for me.
Yeah, I think I take Suarez as well. Don't feel great about either. Suarez a little bit cheaper also. But yeah, they both have to be in play just because of the nature of the opponent. The opponent is terrible. So yeah, that's I don't want to sit here and gush about Davis Martin, 2 last names, 2 first names, but he's okay, I guess. He's fine. Nothing special. 21% Ks, a few too many walks at 9%. The home runs have been in check. More of a ground ball guy than a fly ball guy. And, the opponent and the price. So, sure. If I need the salary, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think that's the easiest way to put it is just saying, hey, he's cheap and he's facing the Angels. Let's just play him. Angels bats, I haven't gone through and looked at like a lot of ownership and stuff from Tuesday night. I got home like 10 minutes before Dean and I started. That's why we started late anyway. So they were projecting for a lot of ownership as a cheaper stack. I don't know where it ended up. Any interest here in the Angels bats against Davis Martin?
I mean, not really. I think Ward's pretty good. Ohapi's all right. Moniak's okay, but nothing great. Shout out to that Jack Lopez character who hit a homer on Tuesday night. He was the punt second baseman, and second base is just an absolute wasteland. So, I ended up on some of him just because. It wasn't like I thought he was great. I was looking at his minor league stuff. I wasn't really wowed, but good for him for banging one out. But yeah, I'm not really enthused as far as the Angels. How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, 5 to 10% ownership on these guys. Probably not going to play them if they were going to be loan. I could take some shots, but they're awful. I mean, one of the reasons that we have interest in Davis Martin, this team's bad. If I was going to play anybody, it'd be Moniak and Wagaman. They're both really cheap, so I could use those guys as one-offs. But yeah, probably not getting too much here for the Angels. And as far as the White Sox, they're awful. They have not one person on this team that I want to play.
Not really. No. I mean, there's some that I will, but I don't want to do it just because they're super cheap. But yeah, I don't want to throw names out there just to throw names out there. But yeah, I thought, what happened to Miguel Vargas? I thought he was supposed to be good. Is he just raw? He's been terrible since coming over.
Would you be excited to play on a team that can't win games and is awful? I mean, would you? I can't.
What if I was coming from the Dodgers? Would that make it better?
Yeah, I mean, even worse, right? But I mean, he is supposed to be like this big prospect, but yeah, I mean,
maybe next year.
Rough go.
It's been bad. It's been really bad.
It hasn't been good, that's for sure. Moving on, Miami at Minnesota, 8.5 total in this game. Minnesota a 205 favorite. Cabrera against Woods Richardson. Any interest here in Edward Cabrera?
Oh man, roller coaster, right? I think Minnesota is going to be really popular. If you want to do the leverage thing, you can do the leverage thing. Cabrera, hey, and then you're a pitching guy. You like to dig into pitching stuff. You probably watch him and say, this guy's got great stuff, at least sometimes. And other times you're like, this dude can't find the plate. And we saw that last time where he had 5 walks and he got his face fully punched in against the Dodgers. It was a disaster. They put up 7 in less than 3. I'd like to see him close the season strong. I'm sure the Marlins would as well. He was doing that. He pitched great against Washington. He pitched great against Philadelphia. And he just sort of up and down, 25.8% as far as the Ks, which is good, but the walks, 12.4%, that's unacceptable. Again, probably in the pool because I think I suspect Minnesota is going to be really popular. To play him in single entry or 3 entry max will take a sack for sure. I don't think I'm getting there, but I understand. He's an interesting pivot off he's a better pitcher than both those guys in that, as far as talent, arm talent. Davis Martin and the other character in that game, the Angels, Suarez, he's the best pitcher amongst those 3, and they're all the same price. But I think he's got the biggest variance as far as outcomes. So I'm kind of wishy-washy because I'm going to play some Minnesota, but I think I'm going to play at least one Cabrera lineup.
I think he's a good MME guy. He reminds me so much about I watch the Marlins a lot. You live in Florida. I get Marlins and Rays games when I'm just on the TV, and then I'll have MLB TV on my computer up while I'm working, and I'll just listen. The guy reminds me so much of Michael Pineda. Great stuff, and then leaves random pitches right over the middle. And Michael Pineda, I talked about this for years with Michael Pineda. His command looks so good and his stuff looks so good, and then all of a sudden you'll see a pitch and you're like, why? You'll literally look at it and you'll be like, why? Boom bust spot. Minnesota much better against right-handed pitching than they are against left-handed pitching. Pretty low strikeout team. They have been struggling. They've only won 3 of the last 10 games. They're kind of letting the playoffs slip away. So yeah, I mean, listen, any team, especially an NL team that can keep an AL team out of the playoffs, you want to. So that's something to play for Miami. You at this time of the year, you're playing spoiler. So I don't hate it. I don't love it. Minnesota is really tough against right-handed pitching. I prefer Suarez just because of like how awful the White Sox are, but I could see myself using Cabrera in a 20-inch max or a 150 build. Woods Richardson on the other side of this game. The pitch count. It's the pitch count that worries me. And like we just got done talking about how Minnesota is really fighting for a playoff spot. If this guy gets in any kind of trouble, he's just going to get yanked. I mean, 60, 70, 80 pitches, like as soon as he gets into any kind of trouble, they've been yanking him. So if you could have asked me at the beginning of the season or asked any Minnesota like staff member, I bet you they wouldn't have said they would have got 132 innings out of Woods Richardson this year.
Something bad probably happened.
Yeah. It's way more than like he probably should have went, so I can't do it. There's just no, and I know it's Miami, and Miami, not the best offense in the world, but I just can't do it. I don't think that his upside is high enough to get him into lineups today.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I know I'm supposed to like automatically say yes because it's the Marlins, but we haven't seen the upside. Like you said, even if he's pitching okay, they still cut him off at about 70, 75, maybe 80 pitches. And like you said, the leash is going to be short. And they've been pulling it more so of late. And maybe it's because he's getting late in the season as far as, all the innings. But by the way, down to 41% officially, according to FanGraphs, Minnesota, their chances of making the playoffs. What a free fall for the Twins. It's not been good. So, yeah, I'm not going to say no, but I think I have him behind Cabrera, all things considered, because of ownership. I'm positive. I shouldn't say positive. I feel really, really confident. I don't like speaking in definitives that Woods Richardson's going to get more ownership than Cabrera, like almost for sure. If we're playing the ownership game in tournaments, I'll take the Cabrera side at like, I don't know, 1/3 the ownership, whatever it is. So I don't think so.
Bats? Any interest in the Marlins bats?
Nah, I don't think so. Do you have any?
No. I mean, okay. Before we just like say no, Norby, Edwards, Sanchez, Berger, Conine, they're cheap enough where like if you want to use them in some builds, I wouldn't necessarily like talk you out of it. Like Jonah Bride, this guy has been hitting. So like I wouldn't talk you out of this. Like Woods Richardson is not an overpowering dominant pitcher, and he struggles massively with lefties, and he walks righties at a huge clip. So like a stack could easily work. They just don't have a lot of power lefties in this lineup where to really take advantage of his struggles. So again, I think he's getting some arm fatigue. I don't think that this is a guy that's slated to go 150 innings in a season. I think he's getting arm fatigue. His numbers are way, way worse here over the last month. So I wouldn't talk you out of it. And Norby, Edwards, Berger, Sanchez, Bride, like secondary 3-man. But not my favorite. Minnesota bats, Dean, what do you got here for Minnesota?
Yeah, I think it's one of the best spots on the board. I think for starters, I think kind of the lead is the Marlins are starting a righty. When they face a lefty, especially this time of year when they're desperate for wins, they're going to do their pinch hit stuff. Once the lefty comes out and the righty comes in, that's what we saw on Tuesday night. I think they had 4 pinch hitters. So the Marlins only have one lefty in their bullpen. He is rested. I don't think he pitched on Tuesday. Anthony Veneziano, just a 1-inning guy as far as I can tell. 5 pitches he threw on Saturday, 22 on Thursday. So I feel much better about the pinch hit stuff. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but assuming that the starting lineup is going to be guys like Larnach and Wallner, and those guys smash righties, for sure I'm interested. Buxton always, Lewis always. I think Santana's been better against lefties, if I'm not mistaken, but part of the stack, sure, why not? But yeah, I am interested in Minnesota. Maybe they're pressing if you want to play that sort of angle, but kind of a desperate team now with things kind of sputtering away. But we've seen when things go bad for Cabrera, they go really, really bad. And we know this Marlins bullpen is bad too. They traded away their best pieces at the All-Star break. I think most to San Diego, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, you're supposed to play some Minnesota, and I think there's a pretty good chance that we'll dodge the pinch hit nonsense unless a really specific scenario comes in. 7th, 8th inning, Veneziano comes in, and then we all of a sudden maybe a Margot comes off the bench. But I'm not terribly worried about that. How about yourself?
Should mention Wallner. Hurt his
Yeah.
side in a pinch hit. That takes out one of the power lefties that we're like here against right-handed pitching. Buxton, Lewis, these guys righty have been fantastic this season. Like you mentioned with Larnick, probably going to get pinch hit for at some point in this game. Minnesota,
Well, again, there's only
course,
one right. There's only one lefty in that Marlins pen. So I feel pretty good about Larnick sticking around. And like I see, Wallner had the one at bat where he struck out, and then like you said, Larnack relieved him. He also came in for an at bat. So
yeah,
maybe that's something.
He hurt his side or something. So of course Tyler Fitzgerald hits a home run tonight. Tyler Fitzgerald homered last night. I would have taken down a tournament. Thanks, Fitzgerald.
You stacked the Giants?
I did.
I never stacked. They would have won. Has that happened? I guess it's happened once this year. Sure. But.
We got St. Louis at Colorado, 10 total in this game. St. Louis a 126 favorite. Fetty against Gomber. Any interest here in Eric Fetty?
No.
Yeah, I can't do it. I don't mind pitchers in Colorado, but I don't think I could do it. Any interest in Gomber on the other side?
I don't think so. Should I have interest in Gomber?
No, you shouldn't. Let's talk bats. Yeah, I know San Francisco absolutely smashing right now.
This is another night where the San Fran and nobody else is doing anything. So the San Fran stack must be just smashing right now. Yeah, it must be clutch.
They're like, we're going to do everything we can to keep these Diamondbacks out of the playoffs. Braves fans are absolutely loving this, by the way.
Logan Webb revenge game. He's got 5 innings with 1 strikeout. The BIP game.
St. Louis bats, Gomber. Definitely want to pick on him, but who do we pick on him with? I think is the biggest question. Goldschmidt, Arenado, they just really haven't had a ton of power against lefties this year. I like Wynn a lot in this spot. He's only 4,700. Like that a lot. I assume that Jordan Walker cracks the lineup, probably plays the whole game here. St. Louis not really playing for anything, so I think they're going to get him some at bats. Yeah. So I like him a lot against the lefty, and then I'll build around those guys. I have interests here. Gomber, he's just gotten worse as the season's gone along. His ground ball rate's going down. His fly ball rate's going up. His hard hit rate's going up. That's exactly what you're looking for. I like the Cardinals a lot today.
I would just add that Gomber's been bad versus lefties too. K rate versus lefties, 18.2%, 16.3% versus righties. So a little bit more Ks, but a higher ISO this season versus lefties, 237 as opposed to 202. Again, both are bad. Last year, lefties got him for 283 ISO. So and a 200 ISO versus righties. So he gives up power left, right, doesn't matter. I don't know if Newbar or Burleson are going to crack the lineup. I don't know if St. Louis even looks at such things as far as this guy might be reverse splitsy. I don't know if they care. I don't know if they packed in the analytics for the season. Arenado revenge game for the 77th time. And maybe that's that. Maybe he's due, like you said. Maybe he should take a clue, a hint from Charlie Blackmon. It's been a rough. Maybe it's not been that bad. But I'm not saying he should retire just yet. But it's been a rough season. Rough season for Arenado.
Oh, Blackmon. I will miss him. He's been a good DFS guy over the years. Any interest here in the Rockies?
Yeah, not unless you want to play the Charlie Blackmon angle. He did get a triple, so there you go. You got a retirement triple. So
he's had 2 hits so far, doesn't he? I thought he had another hit too.
I didn't see. He certainly could have. I just don't really know how to play Colorado. I feel like I played so little of them this season, and more times than not, it's been fine. Every once in a while, they have that explosion. But, they're in the mix, sure. Fetty, professional pitcher. I like Doyle versus lefties. We saw Rogers get scratched. I don't know how serious that was. They're just sputtering here to the finish line. They want to hit that sim button. I'm not enthused. I feel like I probably should say Colorado, put a little more oomph on them. But you tell me. Maybe pick up the slack. Am I missing something?
It's Eric Fetty. Gives up a ton of hard contact, and his strikeout rate has dipped, on the second half of the season. So Blackmon, Tovar, Doyle, McMahon, Toglia, Hilliard, I think are all playable. You just kind of close your eyes and you play course. And you're playing against Fetty. So I don't hate it. I really don't. Depending on like who's back in there, Beck is 3,500. He cracked the lineup. He could be a cheap bet. Aaron Shuck was, I think, who came in for Rogers, and he's 3,300, and he has at least one hit. Yeah, he has at least one hit in 6 straight games. So if he's back in there at 3,300, could be a really low owned cheap bet here. Moving on, we got 3 games left. San Francisco at Arizona. 8.5 total here. Yeah, 3 games left. Arizona, a 220 favorite here. Mason Black against Zach Gallen. Any interest here in Black?
No.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
I'll keep it succinct.
Listen. Yeah, no interest in Black. 18% Ks on the season. Really, 217 ISO, 378 WOBA. Gives up a lot of fly balls. Definitely a guy we're going to target. Other side, I know the Giants are kind of hitting the ball, and I mean, Brandon Pfaadt was one of my favorite pitchers on the slate yesterday. I'm going right back to the well here. Gallen strikeout rate's up 6% over the last 30 days. His swinging strike rate and whiff rate continues to climb. The Giants strike out a ton. Just going to kind of overlook what happened on Tuesday night and go right back to the well here on Zach Gallen.
Yeah, looking at San Fran versus righties, 7th most, 24.5% as far as the strikeouts. It is a slight ballpark. Well, it's a ballpark bump for sure. Anytime they get out of San Fran, pretty good ballpark to hit baseballs. If you want to make the argument of like, they'll probably they might need an extra inning at a Gallen. Well, I assume they're just throwing this game out and they're not putting any decent arm. It's 10-0 at this point. So we're going to probably see, Ketel Marte pitch the 9th or something like that. I don't know. It's going to be something fun because it's 10-0. Yeah, San Fran in the bottom of the 5th. But Arizona still battling for a playoff spot, favored to do so. I think they're at 68%. There you go. By the way, Baltimore did officially get in after tonight, so maybe we see something goofy out of Baltimore. Baltimore and New York both locked their playoff spots. Yeah, I like Gallen a good bit. I think he's. I don't want to say he's right there with Sale, but if you catch him on the right night, he could be. Ks in the season 24.2%. A few too many walks as well at 8.7%. But I do like picking on the San Francisco team. So he's in my primary pool, Zach Gallen.
Yeah. Any interest in the Giants bats?
Not really. No. I mean, no. Don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I can't do it. I have way too much interest in Zach Gallen today. Arizona bats against Black. Any interest in Arizona here?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of big sample on Black, but so far he's been really, really bad against righties. Not great against lefties either. The K is at 18.4%. The ISO is 217. The WOBA's 378. Both way too high. Giving up fly balls. I suspect Arizona bounces back. Corbin Carroll has really turned his season around. He's been spectacular in the last 2 months or so. Ketel Marte is awesome. Jock Peterson spectacular. Somewhat of concern when they bring in a lefty, they give him the hook sometimes. And then Christian Walker, like that front four is really, really good. So I don't know how much beyond that. Eugenio Suarez is fine as well. But I think Mason Black is one of the weaker pitchers to pitch tonight, and Arizona should take advantage of it. And we've talked about Arizona being, one of the best offenses in baseball, kind of a secret for a while. They're 5th against, righties, current WRC plus, current roster. I do like them a good bit. They're pretty contact heavy. Looking at their ISO, they're 4th as well. It's a good ballpark. Arizona is one of my favorite offenses on the slate.
Yeah, we're assuming they're down 10-0. We're assuming they're going to lose on Tuesday night. So they're not in a ton of danger, but I mean, this race is super close. The Mets are 87. Arizona will be at 87 if they lose this game, and the Braves are at 86. I mean, San Diego's in a good spot at 90 wins, but this race is very close down the stretch with 4 teams, kind of fighting for the last 3 spots. And
yeah,
you have to think like this is a game that they're going to want. You got a guy here in Mason Black who's not a great pitcher, and you would think that this is a game that Arizona's going to hang a crooked number against him. So, yeah, I like Arizona a lot today. One of my top stacks on the entire slate.
So wait, did you say Sandy? I'm seeing Mets, Braves, Diamondbacks. Two of those three get in. Is that what you said? Did you say 3 out of 4?
Mets, it's Padres, Diamondbacks, Mets, Braves fighting for the last 3 spots.
Padres are already in. They made the playoffs.
Huh?
According to FanGraphs, they have a 100% chance to make the playoffs.
FanGraphs is wrong.
I'm just telling you what FanGraphs is saying.
If they win tonight, maybe it's like doing like because they're leading right now. The Dodgers. If San Diego wins tonight and gets to 91 wins, they have the tiebreaker on I think 2 of the 3. So
Okay.
yes, if they win this game tonight, then I think it's 100%, and I think it's probably close to 100%. I'm just saying like. Okay, so Diamondbacks, Mets, Braves fighting for the last 2 spots. I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think the Padres get in for what it's worth. They're 3.5 games up on Arizona and New York. So, I mathematically they could lose out and some other teams get in if they all win. But I don't think it's even possible because the Braves and the Mets are playing against each other. So, yeah. So maybe FanGraphs is right. Maybe I'm wrong.
The chat's cracking me up. By the way, they're having a good time. Didn't acknowledge the chat enough, but I'm watching the chat and they're having a good time, and I'm glad that there are people still grinding baseball this time of year, Stevie. It's
Listen, I can't wait for playoff baseball. I hate the last week of the regular season, but I love playoff baseball. All right, Texas at Oakland, 7.5 total pick'em game. Cody Bradford, Brady Basso. Any interest here in Cody Bradford?
No, I do not. And I think one of my bigger takes, and we'll get to the offense, is I like Oakland.
I kind of like Brady Bradford today. Cody
Bradford. Sell me on him. What am I missing?
Okay, I liked him until I realized he was so expensive. I don't ever look at salary until we get going. Why is he 8,800?
I don't know.
Yeah, I probably don't like him. I mean, he's been pitching really well. His command has been a lot better recently. His walk rate is way down. It's like 3%. And he's been just his command overall has been a lot better. I think that he has a chance to score 25 to 30 in this spot. I mean, there's a lot of strikeouts. There's a lot of power, but there's a lot of strikeouts in this lineup too. Yeah, I mean, I hate the price tag. I don't know if I'd play Oakland bats, but I hate the price tag.
I'm going to play some Oakland bats.
We'll talk about it. You're gonna tell me all about it here in a second. But do you have any interest in Brady Basso?
I did my research for the pod before I came on, but I don't know much about this Brady Basso character. Can you tell me something about him?
Yeah, I mean, reliever turned into a starter role. I don't know what the plan for his future is. I don't think he's like a prospect or anything. He's 28 out of 30 as far as Oakland prospects, so he's not like this huge prospect. I think they just kind of put him into a starter role to eat up some innings. Did have Tommy John early in his career, but he doesn't have like an overpowering pitch. Throws a lot of strikes. He's a strike thrower that tries to goes out and generates ground balls. I mean, that's what he tries to do. So, yeah, I mean, he started the last 3 games. He's had the Cubs, the White Sox, and then Detroit. He's pitched decent in 2 of those 3 outings. Like, even his Cubs start wasn't that bad. But he's not a guy that has a huge ceiling, in my opinion. He's a guy that's going to go out and just kind of throw strikes and has a 20% K rate with a 6% walk rate and does a good job of limiting power. So I don't think I'd play him against Texas, but I don't know if I'd stack Texas against him. I think this game has potential to be really low scoring. I hate his pitch mix. He throws 4 pitches: fastball, curveball, changeup, cutter, and he mixes them up a lot. So he's going to generate and keep hitters on their toes. So I'm probably out on Basso, and I'm probably out on the Texas bats. Do you have any interest in the Rangers?
Not really. Basso does have a pretty impressive swinging strike rate at 12.5%, but some of that is with as a reliever.
Yeah, I was going to say reliever.
So it's a bit juiced up. But yeah, you kind of hit it on the point with Oakland is, they strike out a lot, sure. But when they hit it, right, again, the active roster versus left-handers, they have the number 1 WRC plus in baseball. Wait, hold on a second.
And really quick, while you're like scrambling for your stats, I will say ever since he got called back up and in this like starter role, his swinging strike's 12.2% with a 0% barrel rate and a 17 ISO. So, I mean, Detroit, Chicago. So that obviously plays a little bit of a factor into that, but he's actually not been awful. He just doesn't have a huge strikeout rate.
So some
would say his strikeout rate has some potential for positive regression because his swinging strike and his whiff rate is so good.
When you say some would say, I don't know if are you a fan of, you think swinging strike rate is a good measure of lucky or unlucky when it comes to strikeouts?
I think swinging strike and whiff rate tell more story than looking at just strikeouts. So yeah, I mean, yes, I think there's some positive regression coming to his strikeout rate. Strikeouts.
I think it means something, but I know I've heard Cardi kind of say it's an overrated stat too. And some of it probably is like, you never really know if pitchers are pitching the contact and they're not necessarily going for the strikeout. And it's hard to quantify what they're doing, right? What they're actually trying to do. So,
the more I think about this, the more I might actually play him today. And it's more of like, he might just be pitching for a job next year. Like, right? Like he's had 3 starts and 2 of them have been really solid. Like, go out and pitch well against Texas, and like you might have a solid chance to go into spring training with a job, So maybe I like him more than I originally thought.
By the way,
Seager out of the lineup, and like, yeah. What's that?
He's almost 27. He's not you mentioned his prospect status. You're no longer a prospect when you're 27, right?
I went on the prospect list really quick because I didn't know much about him, and he's 28th out of 30. So he's still a prospect because he had Tommy John and missed a year and a half. So you never know.
Could I say this, by the way, in the chat, saying Dean is the human DFS, rain delay, and I'm going to delay. So I saw a stat. I guess not a stat, but just kind of a fun fact. Tomorrow, when people are listening to this podcast, Wednesday, you mentioned Tommy John. Tomorrow is the 50th anniversary of Tommy John surgery, and the amount of people that have had their career changed and the positive because of it. It's one of the more remarkable things in sports. If you sort of like, that never happened. So many careers, so many players you've never even heard of. Or like you wouldn't have heard of, I suppose. They had their career derailed. So, and shout out to the doctor. We don't know the doctor's name. We just know the dude that said like, here's my arm. There you go. But yeah, I remember the quote was supposedly he asked the doctor to give me I want to pitch like Sandy Koufax. That kind of dates the story. But there you go. But
sorry,
Tommy John.
Back on track, Dean. Texas bats. Any interest in the Rangers here?
Not really. Not really. I side with Oakland's, and I stand with the Oakland fans. This is the last series of the Coliseum. They sold out the Thursday game. The Thursday afternoon game is sold out.
That's
they're going
great.
to stick it to the owner, I imagine. But, I feel bad. I really feel bad because it's such a storied organization. They have great fans, too. You remember when Oakland was good, and they had the fans in the crowd? It was kind of like the old Oakland Raiders. They're probably similar guys, right? Similar people. They have like different instruments. Like it was a fun crowd in Oakland, but it's just pathetic what's happened, and the owner should be banned from baseball. They should force him to sell a team, but that's just one person's opinion. Fisher, disaster. Anyways, I'm rooting for Oakland to close out with a 4-game sweep at home versus Texas, and it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, Wyatt Langford has been excellent against left-handed pitching this year. So if you want to play him as a one-off, I don't hate it. That's my dude. As far as the Oakland bats against Bradford, you said you had a little bit of interest. I'm guessing it's like Roker, Bangaliers, Jacob Wilson.
All the power guys. Give me all the power guys. They're probably going to strike out a fair bit, and we're just going to get a couple homers. We're homer hunting here with Oakland. So yeah, that you basically ran up the guys that I would be interested in. One of them is going to homer, maybe 2 homer. I can't tell you exactly which 2, but most likely candidate would be Brent Rooker, maybe Langoliers, Blade. I like Butler as well, but yeah, the front half is distinctly better than the back half as far as Oakland.
Yeah, I hope they hit the lefties. Lefty. I think that they have some upside. I was reading a thing about Oakland today, not to get too sidetracked, but they tried multiple times to like get the city to like build a new ballpark and stuff that MLB wanted them to build, and like all the money was going to the NBA team. Well, I guess that's what happens when you have Steph Curry, right? San Diego at LA taking on the Dodgers, 7.5 total in this game. Dodgers are 144 favorite. Dylan Cease, Jack Flaherty. Any interest here in Dylan Cease?
I think we're supposed to, right?
He's ramping it
now,
up, man. He's getting into playoff mode here. He's been pitching really well here.
But again, let's not bring up the argument of like in the playoffs, not in the playoffs. They're going to be in, right? Whether if not tonight,
yeah, but they can still
right
beat
now.
the Dodgers, right? Like if they beat the Dodgers tonight, they're currently winning 2-1, right? Or 4-1. They just scored 2 more runs.
Yeah.
So if they beat the Dodgers tonight and they beat them on Wednesday, do they play Thursday too? I'm looking really quick.
Probably.
So they play Thursday too. Sure. If they sweep the Dodgers and take 4 straight, I think they're tied, right? No, they'd be up a game on the Dodgers. So, I mean, I think that they take this series very serious until they don't, right? Like if they lose 1 to the Dodgers, I think the Dodgers clinch over them. But if they can sweep the Dodgers here, it's huge, right? So
if they lose Tuesday, bake down Cease's upside a tick for Wednesday.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that 100%. I don't think they can beat the Dodgers at that point. So, but if they end up winning this game, they're up 4-1 in right here on Tuesday night as we're recording. I think Cease gets the leash, man. Could potentially be his last start before the playoffs too. So I think he gets the leash. I think if pitching well, Dylan Cease can go 100 to 110 pitches, 115 pitches. We've seen him. I think he topped out at 114 this year. But yeah, I mean, they're going to let him go if he's pitching well, if they win on Tuesday night.
Let's see, arbitration next year, unrestricted free agent 26. He's a hired gun. Yeah. I think they let him go if they really need him. If they really need him, they would let him go. So I don't really want to pick on the Dodgers. You know that. Who wants to pick on the Dodgers? They have that Shohei Ohtani guy. He's 50-ish club, which is just incredible. But, there is an upside, and we're shooting for upside, which I guess why we'll talk about Flaherty as well.
You would think, like, he's probably... You give him the ball in the wild card game, Cease?
For San Diego? Oh, is he their first starter? Is that what you're asking? Or their wild card starter?
I would assume that he would be the guy, like, over Michael King, right? And Joe Musgrove.
Yes.
I would assume...
Yeah.
So this is Cease's probably last start of the year, regular season, and he's ready to go. So, yeah, I mean... Unless they're like a game up on the Dodgers on Sunday, I could see Cease pitching on Sunday on short rest if they wanted to. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think this series, like if they can win on Tuesday and they can win this game, the series becomes way more interesting because they play Arizona this weekend too, with the potential of like knocking Arizona out of the playoffs too. And I mean, I don't know. I think I'd rather Atlanta make it if I was like the Padres over the Diamondbacks. Like, I don't want to play the Diamondbacks. I don't want to play them in the playoffs. Like, I'd rather play the Braves. Their lineup is banged up. They announced today Austin Riley's not coming back. So, Jack Flaherty. Any interest in Flaherty on the other side?
Yeah. Roberts is just always so cautious. Like he's pulling his guys early. I mean, he does it throughout the season, but you see it a lot when the games are out of hand. He does have those ceiling games. You saw it a couple of games ago against Cleveland when he was really, really good and he went deep. But 92 pitches. The Dodgers, again, it's the same old story. I think the Dodgers are going to win the pennant. It's most likely to happen. It doesn't mean it's for sure going to happen. But like they've had so many injuries. Do they want to push Flaherty? They really desperately need him for the playoffs with the injury to Glasnow and Kershaw and the whole thing. Gavin Stone, not that he's any good, but he's out as well. It's a big old mess. But I guess I'm trying to talk myself out of it. But San Diego is also really super contact heavy. I think he's one of my least favorite amongst the quote unquote studs in the slate. I have him behind Sale. I think I have him behind Cease. I think as far as like all things considered. I'm curious where you're at as far as Flaherty. I'm just a little bit cautious that he's less likely to get pushed than the others.
I don't want to play him today. I'm worried about the leash and I'm worried about the matchup. I'm worried about how he's been pitching recently. Strikeouts are kind of down. I mean, on the season, he's at 30%. Over the last 30 days, he's at 23%. And he's had some really decent strikeout matchups too, and just hasn't taken advantage of them. So I'm out on Flaherty today. The Padres are one of the scariest lineups in baseball. I mean, they don't strike out. They have a ton of power. They just not a team you want to face if you're a right-handed pitcher. So I'm out. I probably don't stack the Padres today. If I was going to pick on Flaherty, it'd be right-handed power. So like Tatis, Machado would be my 2 favorite bats here.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think it's just like a total stay away for me, which is, and we'll talk about the Dodgers as well. And I think this game is an overall. I don't think I'm getting to many of the hitters. Like, of course, I would love that Ohtani, but we live in the world of a salary cap. But am I going to delegate 7.5 to Ohtani? Do I have that salary? Probably not. I'd be more likely to play a guy like Muncy as a one-off or Freeman as a one-off. I just don't know if I'm going to get there. We'll see how salary, is as far as I'll take the squeezes when it comes to making lineups work. But it's weird to have no. We've talked about several offenses that this offense is good and probably not going to have them. Yankees, Baltimore, San Diego, LA. We'll see how it works out. My favorite play in this game is probably Cease. But again, I want to see San Diego win on Tuesday, and that's subject to change if it doesn't happen.
Any interest in the Dodgers bats here?
Again, I'm not going to tell anybody that they shouldn't play the Dodgers, but am I going to feature them in my lineups? Am I in the 121 single entry or whatever? Probably not. Don't think so. Hopefully Ohtani doesn't hit 2 homers and swipe 2 bags again. If he does, we'll fire up the Netflix. It's all right. We'll fight another day. But that's that. I just don't think I'm getting there. The people know to play Ohtani if you have the money to play Ohtani. Always Ohtani. But I don't think I'm doing it, just logically looking at it.
All right, morning grind game time. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. Who do you got?
Ooh. You know what? I'm going to say Cabrera.
Yeah. I wrote down Suarez.
Yeah.
I like Suarez. I will say that after we talked it out more, I kind of like Basso to get 6 or more strikeouts. I'm really interested to see what his strikeout prop opens up at tomorrow. Over 8K to score under 15. Who's your bust today?
I want to stay on brand and say Bradford.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm gonna go almost all the way to the top. I'm gonna say Jack Flaherty scores under 15 today against Padres. Over 4K to hit a home run. Who's going yard today?
All right, let's see. Who's my favorite hitter?
Can't be in course.
Let's go with Brent Rooker.
All right. I was wondering if you were gonna stay on brand and go Oakland after everything that you were saying about them. So glad you did. I'm gonna go with my boy Jock Peterson to hit a home run here against Mason Black.
Sure.
Under 4K to get 2 hits. Who's a cheap bet that you like today?
Ooh, let me get a quick peek. 2 hits under 4K. We kind of like Oakland, Minnesota. Did you say Wallner got hurt? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Larnach's 3K. He probably sticks around the entire game. I think it's either Larnach or Blade. One of those two. I'll go Blade. No. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go Larnach.
I am gonna go with Pavin Smith, assuming that he draws a start here. Stack to score 6 or more runs. Who do you got scoring some runs today?
I guess I'm going to stick with selling with the. I'm already pot committed to Oakland, so I think it's what's the fun in saying Minnesota, right? What's the fun in saying the Yankees? I'm going to say Oakland.
I'm gonna go Arizona. They're the clear top stack for me today. I really like them. So I'm gonna go Arizona. Any player props or pick'em plays that you like? I was checking pre-show to see if there's not a ton of props up yet.
So Houston, I was thinking about the under in that game. What the Houston game is anything 7.5 is the total?
7.5. Yeah.
We're going to get nonsense lineups, right? Out of Houston, and possibly we might get nonsense out of Baltimore, by the way. If we get nonsense out of Baltimore,
Cortez they clinched as we were recording. Yep.
So just be on the alert for nonsense. You're aware of this time of year.
Might like Cortez a lot more
Yeah. He could definitely jump up the rankings if Baltimore just doesn't care.
Because the Yankees still care. They're trying to beat the Guardians for best record in the AL. So yeah.
And you're supposed to there's a certain etiquette of if the other team cares, you're supposed to pretend you care, right? And
not after the day you clinch.
I don't know what.
And Detroit and Kansas City, I don't think can catch Baltimore either. I could be wrong, but yeah, I mean, I think that Baltimore lineup is going to be pretty weak. But Seattle's still fighting for a playoff spot. It's kind of slim still, but they're still fighting with Minnesota, Kansas City, and Detroit. So, but you and I both think that Detroit's in a really good spot, finishing against Tampa and Chicago.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think Detroit wants Flaherty back? Who did they get for Flaherty? They got prospects, right?
I don't remember what the trade was. I don't have any player props. Just nothing up yet that I like, so I'm going to pass on that. Is there any other bets or anything you got here?
Oakland, Texas over 7.5.
Staying on brand. I like it. 3-pick parlay for Wednesday. It's plus 456 going to the Yankees to win. I'm just kind of getting on this Yankees line now. It's minus 140 on the Hard Rock, minus 138 on a couple other books. But jumping on this now, Nestor Cortez against a weaker Baltimore lineup potentially. And then I'm going to go to Angels to win, minus 120. I believe in Jose Suarez a little bit more than Davis Martin, and I think the Angels lineup is a little bit better than the White Sox. And then I'm going over 9.5 runs in cores. I think this line is too low with Austin Gomber and Eric Fetty. So over 9.5 minus 130 comes out to plus 456. That is my 3-pick parlay for Wednesday. We're back tomorrow, NFL Week 4. Noto and I will be 10 p.m. Eastern live right after Dean and the guys are over there on the Pick Six show. I think it starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. So you get some back-to-back NFL while you're sweating out some MLB. Hope everyone has a fantastic Wednesday. We'll see you again on Thursday.